Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this session as you embark on this journey to become educational leaders in your school setting. We are very fortunate to have with us a school turnaround principal. Joel Brewington is a principal at J.W. Turlington School in Rayford, North Carolina. He has worked closely with his staff on school improvement efforts, and he is looking forward to sharing this information with you that will help support your growth as a leader within your school.
Good morning. Uh, First and foremost, let me say thank you, Miss Brewington, for the introduction. Um, if you guys haven't made the connection, yes, I'm a lucky husband of a wonderful wife, Miss Carrie, and also a father of an amazing son. He's 4 years old, be 5 on July 6th. So we're looking forward to his birthday. Now, I could talk about them all day long, but we're here to talk about NC STAR. It's a framework for school improvement. So with that, we'll go ahead. Please take a moment to look over these norms. Now, I'd like to call your attention to the last one because we'll be using the chat feature to engage in some activities during this presentation. After reading this quote by Dr. Redding, think about some of the words that stand out to you. Um, uh, Feel free to unmute yourself and share some ideas. The first one that stands out to me is continuously, determination, resources, discipline. School improvement efforts don't fail because of resources. They fail because of leadership and staff that aren't disciplined, and they lack that, sense of urgency. School improvement planning is more than just a plan. Um, it maps out the school's goals and the action steps that they take to reach those goals. There was an old way of doing things and a new way of doing things. In the past, when a school improvement plan was put together, it was done mostly by just administration, um, binders on set on binders, set them on a dusty shelf. It wasn't referenced. It was very cumbersome to look at previous years. Um, Hard to identify trends that would have taken place between year and year and year. Um, the new way, using NC Star, it's more digitally based. It's user friendly. It's easy to reference, update, and throughout the year you make changes where you need to. As we said before, it's a web-based tool. Um, it helps schools set goals, chart their action steps that they're making towards reaching that goal. Um, it holds people accountable. Your school improvement team members are tasked with collecting data, analyzing that data, making changes where needed. Previously, the school improvement planning process was the sole responsibility of administration, principals, maybe assistant principals, maybe guidance counselors, but not today. In today's world, it's the team leaders, the teacher leaders, um, along with district staff, along with guidance counselors, administration, also parents. They're all a part of the school improvement team. When we're talking about transparency, being open and honest with our conversations, transparency is evidence since the plans are on all web-based websites. They're accessible to everyone. There's never a question about the direction that the school is going as far as reaching those goals that they were set, those school improvement efforts. Every school is unique. It has its own needs and challenges. What works for one may not work for another. That's why there are over 100 indicators, to be exact 125, that drive the improvement efforts and the student success. Now, obviously, you can't work on each one 100 at a time. You select a few to develop each year. Most schools, and we'll talk about later, are TSI and CSI schools have 12 key indicators that they work on. Once these plans have been made through administration and the team leaders, the districts have to approve these plans. After approving the plans, they are presented to the local school board and they're sent off to the state for approval if they're TSI or CSI, which is targeted support and improvement. And if you go to the main web page, this is an image of the IndyStar platform. This is the digital platform program that North Carolina uses, along with many other states. If you log on to this site, this is what you'll see. Over here, you'll see our direction. This shows what the vision is, the school's mission. You also have meetings. What kind of meetings? The MTSS meetings, multi-tiered support and services. You have your POC, your professional learning community services meetings. You also have, of course, your SIT team meetings, school improvement team meetings. Your success cycle. These are the action steps that you set forth to meet those goals that you set forth for your school's improvement. The selected key indicators, the evidences, the artifacts that you've collected throughout and you analyze to make changes where needed. Also, you have your progress. This is your monitoring cycle. Now, unique to North Carolina, they put together by DPI, Department of Public Instruction, for school improvement members to reference. This is an NC Star Weebly. This information is about developing plans, helps research practices, different examples, and MTSS and NC Star, spring trainings, family community engagement, etc. This page is still on Weebly, and I'm showing this because here you can see all the references and the information about MTSS, the multi-tiered support services. Most schools are involved in this program. You also have your EVOS, um, how you could use the data in EVOS to drive your instruction. Look at some of the trends or areas of growth. Here we have the 5 dimensions for school improvement. Dimension A is instructional excellence. And if you notice, it's broken up into 2 parts. First part being teaching and learning. The second part being support for student achievement. Dimension B, well, let's go back. Dimension A, we have some sub-dimensions within Dimension A, talking about high expectations that's communicated, aligning curriculum and instruction, analyzing data, planning for instruction, and also the support services provided. Dimension B is leadership capacity. That's more or less your administration team, talking about strategic planning, your vision and mission statements, distributing leadership throughout the school and collaborating with teachers, and monitoring instruction within the school. Dimension C, professional capacity, talking about teacher quality and experience, um, different professional development workshops that they attend, and recruiting good quality teachers and retaining those that are high quality, high functioning. You also have Dimension D, planning and operational effectiveness, resource allocations, facilities, and technology. And last but not least, Families and community is a big part of school improvement, is engaging families, engaging the community, all your stakeholders. And once again, the most important part I feel, and obviously the state feels, is that teacher connection with students. It's two parts. Most important, the impact on student success. There are 12 key indicators. And they're considered key because the reason is that they are deemed most urgent and necessary for immediate school improvement. Now, many of you guys will teach in schools categorized as priority focused, TSI, like we talked before, targeted support and improvement, um, and CSI, talent support and improvement. And these schools are required by law to use these 12 key indicators. You don't have a choice. You can't choose from any one of the 125 that they have. Those schools are required by law to use these 12 key indicators. Which brings us to our first activity. Ms. Brunton, if you'll put the link up in the chat box, teachers will go to the answer garden and write one artifact or piece of evidence that your school could use to demonstrate the school is exhibiting instructional excellence and alignment. Ms. Brunton will monitor that activity. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Thank you.
Okay, so what we're going to have everybody do now is you're going to click on the link that I put in the chat box, and that's going to take you out of the presentation into an answer garden. And when you get into the answer garden, you will then put a word or a phrase to the prompt, which is thinking about artifacts or evidence that you could collect that support instructional excellence and alignment. Mr. Brewington, we have some responses coming in. High expectations, teachers providing meaningful feedback, school rubrics, rigorous projects. Those are all ways. Yeah.
Those are all great ideas, great artifacts to use.
Okay, so we're coming all back to the room now if you want to continue on.
Okay. So our next dimension is dimension B, leadership capacity. And like I said before, that's talking about your administrative team. Note, this time is dedicated for staff meetings, professional learning communities, planning, etc. You always hear leadership, but really, when you talk about leadership, it's not just administration. We're talking about planning times, teacher leaders, all these things that are relevant to you as a teacher. So every step is it's not just administration. It's not just guidance counselors and office staff. It's all of us. It's a big team effort. Dimension C and E. Dimension C is professional capacity. That's you as a teacher. It deals again directly with teachers, your professional development opportunities, your professional growth, and your niece's observations that you receive from administration. All those type of things. Dimension E, like I said, it's the last but it's not the least, family and community. This is certainly very important. So it leads to our second activity.
So what we will do with this activity is it's similar to the first activity. I'm going to drop a link into the chat box at this time. And you all will click on that link. We're going to go out of the presentation into another answer garden, and we are going to respond to the prompt in the answer garden, which is to consider and artifact or some type of evidence that you could collect as a member of the school improvement team to demonstrate that your school is making positive progress in terms of family and community engagement. So we will be back in a few minutes, Mr. Brewington.
Thank you.
So these are some of the responses coming into the answer garden. We have websites, we have newsletters, we have a welcoming lobby, welcoming environment. And when we talk about the newsletters, I just want to make the point that it is so important that when you're talking about school improvement, that those newsletters do contain information for parents on how they can help improve instruction for their students. And so rather than just have a sports schedule or upcoming events, you really litter those newsletters with instructional strategies and information about what is actually taking place curriculum wise in those classrooms. And we are coming back, Mr. Brewington, to your room at this time.
Okay, welcome back. Those are great ideas.
It's like we're all here.
Thanks for your engagement. So if you look here, this screen shows some of the key indicators that your school has selected. These little boxes are very useful. If you click on them, whatever indicator your school has selected to work on, you can click on each box for that indicator. You have access to a great deal of additional information about them. This is an example of what you'll find under one of the key boxes when you click it. Like I said before, it's 125 key indicators. Your school will decide on 12. When you go to this page, it provides an explanation of the indicator with potential action steps that you can take. It can answer a number of questions. It provides guidelines and evidence of the indicator's effectiveness. Everything is research-based, and this information can be found here in this document. So, your school improvement team has created a school improvement plan. You set some action steps that you want to go forth in meeting your goals that you've set. So it's time now to monitor and revise. What do we do now? The team frequently meets to keep track of progress. This is documented as artifacts for each action step. Together, the team determines what's working and what's not. Do we go forward as we're going now, or do we need to make changes? Like I said, the NC Star School Improvement Plan is a working document throughout the year. It can be updated, it can be changed, what's working, what's not. It doesn't sit on a shelf. It's continuous. It's a living document. So for our final activity, as we wrap up, reflect on your own school or your own educational setting. How can you be a proactive member and implement positive change? Please feel free to unmute yourself and share some. I'd love to hear your ideas. But if you're not comfortable talking, share in the chat box.
Well, as I reflect back on my experience in the classroom, I think that a big component of school improvement was really trying to get those families involved. And we touched on this a little while ago when we were in the answer garden, especially during this time of remote learning and virtual learning. How can we reach these parents? What innovative strategies can we utilize to reach the parents in the homes? And I think that does not have to necessarily stop with websites and emails. I think that we could send information in the mail, pamphlets, packets, out outside, marquees in the even in the center of the town, just with a website address, just different ways to really try to pull in that community into the school environment as much as possible. I think that would be a great step towards school improvement.
And I know a lot during this time of the pandemic. I know a lot of our teachers are worried about what are we going to do when we get back. How are we going to reach those students who are their parents are kind of wary about bringing them back into the classroom to the school setting. They want to continue this remote learning at least for a certain time. So teachers are worried about how we can keep those students engaged that aren't physically in the classroom. Um, it's a new way of doing things, and it's going to take an effort by all of us to make it happen.
I have a question.
Yes.
As a principal, um, with instructional excellence and alignment, what do you do in terms of ensuring that your students are successful academically when they are in a physical classroom and they have a teacher? What are some of the strategies you implement within the walls of those classrooms to make sure that everyone's on the same page in terms of the high expectations for learning?
Well, one of the things I do personally is I I do walkthroughs, classroom walkthroughs. Students are used to seeing me come into the classroom, sit down, engage with the lesson. Um, I may make it a little funny here and there, make little jokes with them, showing them a different side of the principal that they're probably used to seeing at their base schools. Um, I want teachers to feel comfortable with me coming into the classroom. It's not a "I got you" moment. It's there for more of a support. Just see what you just do what you're doing. I know you do the best you can for our students, but I like to engage with the students. That's one of the things I do.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions you may have? I hope I have an answer. But if I don't, one of my previous principals I worked for, he said, if I don't know the answer, I'll find it for you.
How do you become a member of your school improvement team?
Well, usually you, usually it's a, you're nominated by your team teachers, um, and it's usually a person who's shown themselves, proven themselves to be, a conscious effort to be a part of the team. Um, really show that caring for students, show that caring for the school improvement process. Um, just being a team member.
If once I'm on the team, what does that mean in terms of work that I have to do?
Well, like we said before, we usually have two school improvement team meetings, which involves MTSS as well, um, twice a month. Well, yeah, twice a month. And you're tasked with collecting some data. It could be in meeting minutes. It could be um, emails, different artifacts showing student success, showing student work, uh, different things that go along with those action steps that we have set in place. It's a good time. It's a good way of giving back to the school and to the students.
Thank you for answering my question.
Okay, if there are no more questions, I thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you, Ms. Brewington, for facilitating. Um, I wish you guys a great summer, and when we get back to school in the fall, great year. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you for your time, everyone.